You ever had a friendship that just left you feeling drained? Or maybe even a little broken, even though you know the other person meant well? Well, today we're digging into an ancient story that has a surprisingly modern lesson about our relationships and why sometimes the biggest danger actually comes from our closest friends. It sounds totally backward, right? Can protection actually be a threat? But that's the big question we're tackling in this explainer. We're going to unpack how the promise of safety can sometimes, believe it or not, lead to our own downfall. So here's the core idea we need to wrap our heads around. We usually think of harm as something intentional. Someone is actively trying to hurt us. But what if the real damage comes from something much quieter? Something like a fundamental mismatch between two people, between two completely different natures. Okay, so we're often drawn to strong people, right? People who are confident and resilient. But that brings up a really important question. What happens when that very strength, just by its nature, is way too much for us to be around? To really get into this, we're going to turn to a classic fable from Aesop. Now, it's a super simple story on the surface, but its message about social dynamics and unequal partnerships, it's as real today as it was thousands of years ago. So let's see how it all goes down. So our story starts in a safe place, the hearthstone. And this is where we meet our two main characters. You've got a sturdy, tough brass pot, and then you have a simple, fragile earthen pot. And they're just hanging out, companions in their own cozy little corner. Then one day, the brass pot gets this big idea. It's an invitation that sounds full of adventure and friendship. Hey, he says, let's leave this safe hearth and go see the world. Seems like a really friendly, exciting thing to suggest, doesn't it? Okay, this is where it gets really interesting. Look at the contrast here. The earthen pot knows exactly what it is. It gets its own fragile nature, and it's not afraid to say so. But the brass pot, he's so confident, he just brushes that fear aside with a big promise. Don't you worry, he says, I'll protect you. I'll keep you safe. And this, right here, is the moment where good intentions completely steamroll very real, very valid concern. And so the earthen pot gives in, and they start their journey. But, the reality of the road is nothing like the safety of the hearth. With every single step, they're jolting and bumping into each other. For the brass pot, it's nothing, a tiny little nudge. But for the earthen pot, well, it's a constant barrage of impacts. And the end, it comes fast. The journey was barely getting started. That constant bumping, the simple act of walking together on this road, it was just too much. The brass pot's very way of being, its normal way of moving, is what destroyed its friend. And just like that, the journey is over. So what are we supposed to take away from this? This story isn't about some evil brass pot. Nope, it's about something way more complex. A concept we can call the proximity paradox. Let's break down what that actually means. This is the key right here. Incompatible proximity. It's what happens when two things are just so different that being close to each other is automatically destructive, even when nobody means any harm. The real tragedy is that it's completely unintentional. The brass pot's gentle nudge was a catastrophe for the clay. And this quote just nails it. It doesn't matter how badly the brass pot wanted to protect its friend, its very nature, its hardness, its strength, that was the source of the danger all along. That promise of protection was totally meaningless. So this brings the question right back to us, doesn't it? Why do we do this? Why do we, like the earthen pot, sometimes shut down that little voice inside that's screaming, hey, this is too much for me? Is it because we want the adventure, or we're drawn to that stronger friend? It's definitely something to think about. Okay, so this isn't just some old story. This exact dynamic plays out all around us every single day. Let's take a look at some modern examples of brass and clay pots that you might just recognize. You see, this pattern is everywhere. Think about your personal life. You have that one friend who can spend money like it's nothing. You try to keep up, but you end up stressed out and broke. That's a brass and clay thing. Or in relationships, picture a blunt, thick-skinned partner whose harmless jokes feel like little cracks to someone who's more sensitive. And in the professional world, it's the small startup partnering with a giant corporation only to get completely swallowed up by its sheer size and speed. In every single one of these, the pattern is exactly the same. So if this pattern is so common, what do we do about it? Well, the solution isn't about trying to become brass. It's actually something way more powerful. It's about understanding and fully embracing your own nature. And this is so, so important. Being clay is not a weakness. It's a feature of your design. Think about it. A clay pot is perfect for holding water by a warm fire. It's just not built for a bumpy road. The real wisdom is in knowing what you're made of and then respecting the environments where you can actually thrive, instead of trying to survive in places you are never meant to be. So what have we really learned here? First, that a friend who is too strong for you can actually be more dangerous than an enemy, even if they don't mean to be. Second, stop apologizing for who you are and start picking roads that are right for you. Third, your best protection is just knowing your own limits. And finally, equals, people who share your rhythm, often make the best friends. These are some really powerful ideas to take with you. Think of them as mantras for protecting yourself. It's all about making conscious choices based on knowing yourself and respecting yourself, instead of just getting dragged along on somebody else's journey.
And this really says it all, doesn't it? I mean, what's the point of the whole adventure if you don't even survive it in one piece? The goal isn't just to go on the journey, it's to finish it whole. So the final thought is this. Maybe the smartest thing we can do is to appreciate the safety of our own hearth, not as a cage, but as a place of strength. And maybe we wait there until we find a traveling companion who's made of the same stuff, someone whose steps match our own and whose very presence doesn't threaten to break us, even by accident.